our health, our wellness, our well-being, all the things requires us to show up every day. You know, we have to recommit to ourselves and our health every day, sometimes every hour, depending on what's happening. And, you know, that's an awesome responsibility and also a tremendous gift.
Can I also just add to that, since we're talking about every day and every step and lily pads and all of that?
Welcome to Salad with a Side of Fries. I'm your host, Jenn Trepeck, talking wellness and weight loss for real life. We're here to clear up the myths, misinformation, bad science, and marketing to teach you how to eat and how to cheat. Are you ready? I'm having salad with a side of fries. Hey, welcome back to another episode of Salad with a Side of Fries. I'm your host, Jenn Trepeck, and today William is back with us. William, I think it's been a year, maybe a year plus since you were here with us last.
Wow, what a year.
To say the least. Right? I guess thank goodness you and I have been in touch all year.
Yes. And thank goodness we're healthy and safe and all those good things.
Exactly. What's on tap for Christmas?
So local, small, and yeah, just trying to make the best of things being different, and that's okay, right?
Exactly. All in due time. We had like a Hanukkah Zoom situation happening, and it was like, yeah, next year we'll be together. Right now, this year, this is good.
I feel like it's a gap year for so many things, and the holidays are one of them. And it'll be different moving forward. But I'm still in the holiday spirit. Not going to lie.
I love that. And I have to say, I think your phrase of the gap year is the best way to think about 2020. Love that. And I know this isn't like the absolute end of 2020, but next week we have an incredible interview in store. So this is the last episode of the year of just us. So I want to give you the top 10 of 2020. Or should I say mine and William's top 10 of 2020. So I want to dig right into it really quick though. Members, your goodies this week. So your recipe is for peppermint fudge energy bites. It's a more healthful snack, a more healthful, delicious, decadent dessert. Perfect use for those leftover candy canes or the broken ones, right? That you never know what to do with. This is what you're going to do with them. If you're not a mint person, don't worry, just leave out the mint part. It's made mostly with almonds and dates and dark chocolate. So just deliciousness. And you could really use it any time of year, but it felt especially festive for now. So enjoy that one. And since it's the last month of the quarter, it's time for your live Q&A session, which this quarter, as we did before, it's going to be a one-on-one. So just you and me, whatever you want to talk about, I am yours for 30 minutes. Your victories, your challenges, your questions, I can't wait to catch up with you. So your email this week will also have the info for scheduling your session. So if you're listening and thinking, this might be an awesome way to keep the holiday a little healthier, and you want to hop on the phone with me as much as I want to hop on the phone with you, it's not too late. Simply join our membership program and it's all yours. Go to glow.fm/salad with a side of fries. And for just $10 a month, you get weekly recipes, a monthly article or tool, extra discounts from me and our partners, plus access to live Q&A sessions, which, like I said, this quarter is just you and me. So seriously, a bargain. When you take advantage of the full offering, it's actually free because you're saving more than that $10. So I always say, show yourself that your health is a priority with this membership. Plus, by being a member, you're supporting this podcast and this community so we can continue bringing you new episodes and experts every single week. So remember, head to glow.fm/salad with a side of fries. In 3 clicks, you are all set to get this week's recipe for the peppermint fudge energy bites and your complimentary one-on-one session. All right, William,
Yes.
give us the first of your favorite episodes for the year.
So can I just say, Jen, it was fun going back and looking at the episodes from the year because I'm a pretty loyal listener
Well, thank you.
and diving back into some of the ones. So I went in kind of a weird order. I'll tell you. I'll tell you. The first one that I want to talk about is, I guess it's episode 56, A Powerful New Framework for Goals with Gregg Clunis.
Yeah.
One of the things that I loved about that, and just give you a little shout out, is about how you were giving him a shout out for giving you this sort of, the framework and some confidence to do your own thing with podcasting and everything. So I love that part, and that was
Well,
sort of
thanks.
yeah.
It's funny, like Gregg, I mean, you guys, Gregg taught me how to podcast. So this is all thanks to him. And then, it's just, I feel honored to be able to pay it back and have him help share with all of us, his expertise beyond podcasting.
Well, and share is one of the things that he's good at doing. There were a couple stories in there that I thought were, God, the story of his dad is just, and then that whole thing. You probably remember it better than I do. If you want to sort of give the highlights of that for folks that aren't as familiar with that episode.
I mean, essentially, there were some lessons that he learned from his dad, and he lost his dad. After they sort of had like an estranged relationship.
Right.
Is that the right word?
Yeah.
And then, his dad got sick and they really reconnected, and his dad really changed his life around. And that really changed things for him to see that possibility and to see that change. And he's like a total entrepreneur.
Yeah, I think one of the things that really resonated with me too is like he had this certain frame of who his dad was and what his dad was capable of and not capable of.
Yeah.
With regards to treating himself well, health, all these kind of things, he gets this critical diagnosis, and at age whatever, he was pretty up there. I can't remember the age, but he was able to change. He was able to change on a dime, and human beings are resilient, and it allowed that change put some things in motion, which allowed them to become closer and all those things. So I love that part of it. I encourage folks to jump into that. The other thing is from that episode, I'm a huge fan of Carol Dweck wrote a book, The Growth Mindset, Growth versus Fixed Mindset, that whole thing. You guys touch on that. I love any of that. It was a great reminder of those things, which feeds right into the story of the dad, of course.
Right. Yeah. And we also talked about growth versus fixed mindset way back in January of this year. That was January 15th with Jordan Paris.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's also a podcaster and talks a lot about growth versus fixed mindset and learning from big business leaders and things like that. But I think, Gregg was talking about it a lot in the context of our goals, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how do we approach things? Because we've all heard of like SMART goals.
Right.
But with a lot of stuff that we talk about and personal development, there isn't like a check the box kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And SMART goals are really designed for things where it is for a finite period of time. There is a box to check at the end. And so I agree with you. I love this episode. I mean, the alternative to SMART that he talked about in that episode was called LEAP.
Right. And it being 2020, we're obviously at the end of the year. A lot has happened. There's a lot of pain and need and all these things going on out there. One of the things that really resonated with me, and it was interesting listening to it, as this was recorded much earlier, there are plenty of folks right out there right now who do not have the time, brain space, income, whatever it is, to even go out and buy a self-help book or take the time to read it or have the time. And so I thought he did a really good job, of sort of nailing that, because people are going through a lot of stuff right now. And even a little even a little nibble of something to sort of improve yourself, even if it's a couple of minutes a day or something, or a week, it's like that, like, and so the analogy, and I have the frog jumping across the pond, one lily pad at a time. I love that. So the lily pad at a time, I should say. I love
Yeah.
that so much. It's one foot in front of the other, and man, do we need to hear that right now.
Right. And then I want to share a couple of my favorite quotes from that one. He talked about assessing the gap between where you are and where you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
And then he said, you already have it all inside you.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that too, because it's like
Yeah.
often I feel like we're trying to shift and change or whatever. And the truth is, like, you already have it all. It's just using it in a different way, accessing it differently.
Yeah. It's such a beautiful way to think about it, and it's so true. It is inside of you, but and you gotta calm the noise down, right? So you can sort of focus on that and start listening, and it's great. I love it.
Absolutely. All right. So one of my favorites is episode 42. This was from May, called that was in English. Mythbusting. Mythbusting, calories in, calories out.
Mm.
And this is on my list partly because it's sort of a cop out of a pick, because it also encompasses our whole like calorie is not a calorie series from
Right.
the year where we talked about
Right.
carbs and fat and sugar. But I love this one because it's one of the biggest misconceptions in nutrition and wellness and weight loss and all of these things, where, you know, all we need to do is create a calorie deficit. And the truth is that actually, I believe that that philosophy is actually the cause of a lot of our challenges and food choices and all of that kind of stuff. So in that episode, we break it down and we talk about how, you know, a calorie is not a calorie. And the premise of that idea is that you can outrun your fork, that as long as you work out enough, you can eat whatever you want. And that's just not how the body works. Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, kids.
Right. But I will give you shortcut. I mean, I highly recommend going back and listening to the episode, but shortcut, instead of calories in, calories out, think quality in, quality out, get up and move more.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, 1,200 calories of Twix bars versus 1,200 calories of cucumbers, not the same in our health.
Wow. I'm just visualizing that, by the way, the difference.
Yeah.
Just like get 1,200 calories worth of cucumbers. Just picture that right now.
Honestly, like, I don't know that there is enough room in my home. Like, you couldn't eat that if you tried.
No. And you know what? Don't.
Yeah, P.S. don't. Not a recommendation, just a point of reference.
Right.
All right, what's your next one? We're 3 already.
That is such a good segue to portion distortion, which was episode 43, which is another one of my favorites, right? Because you don't want to eat too many cucumbers. So I loved a couple of things. I love the explanation of sort of what the body does when we give it food without nutrients. It literally doesn't know what to do with it, and it totally makes sense, and it totally feeds into all these things about, you know, how you could like sit down and like all of a sudden you're like, I just finished that bag of chips or whatever, a quart of ice cream,
Yep.
whatever it is, right? And you know, taking into consideration that there's a physiological reason for that. To me, that really resonates with me and really hits home with me. And so I was appreciative of that. The other some of the things, again, going back and listening to it again, there's just a couple of great nuggets in there, like you talking about the apple the size of your head, which is right when you go to the supermarket.
Wait, you're gonna die. I recently, and you guys, so even I still stop thinking for a minute. I'm at the farmer's market, right? So in theory, you think that everybody at the farmer's market, the apples are going to be organic.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't notice until he handed me the bag, that these apples were enormous.
Yeah.
And then I sliced one And it sat on a bowl on my coffee table. I had an online conference that I had hooked up my computer to the TV. So I sort of cut up the apple to like have munchies.
Right.
So it sat on the coffee table like all afternoon. It did not turn brown.
Oh, that is so creepy.
And I had this moment of like, so first of all, when I saw the size of the apple, I was suspicious.
Right.
Then when it didn't turn brown, I was like, oh crap.
Yeah.
And then to top it off, I bought 3 apples. That third apple I ate probably 3 weeks later and it was still fine.
Wow. Yeah.
So P.S. Not
God.
that like this is like the most genetically modified apple on the planet.
Yeah.
But like
yeah, I mean, it's like, I understand why they created this
1,000%.
Franken apple, which stays good for God knows how long and doesn't turn brown because people freak out. But we know that's not natural.
Right.
We know that's not natural. And
yet I couldn't bring myself to throw it out and not eat it.
Yeah.
I was still like, but isn't it an apple?
So I enjoyed that part of the discussion. Really surprised to hear, and I'd forgotten this, that most people eat too little protein. That is just crazy to think about that. But then I guess if you think about it, it's not that surprising because we're eating all this other crap.
Right. We're eating a ton of other stuff, or we compensate. Like we've been told that a serving of protein is the palm of your hand. So we're only eating that much protein. And we're like, I'm still hungry, but I ate what I was supposed to eat of protein. So I'm going to fill up on these other things.
I also loved and any reference to the old food pyramid just makes me chuckle and makes me think of my childhood. And then, of course, you guys were talking about that in that episode, and how the breakfast and the old breakfast commercials when we were growing up was the toast plus the cereal plus the juice plus I don't know what else was in there. A Pop-Tart? I have no idea.
Probably, right? Like, and this one, again, like you said, it sort of ties into that calories in, calories out thing.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not about eating less in our portions. It's about shifting the proportions of food on our plate.
Yep. So I thought that and again, I mean, I'm sitting here. I'm sorry, I got quiet. I'm thinking about the veggies. Do I really eat enough veggies? I mean, I think that's something that I think a lot of us, and especially this time of year when you can't really go to the farmer's market, or I guess you can, but the stuff's not fresh and whatever, right?
Yeah.
Or it's different, right? It's different. And so it's easier in the spring and the summer to have access to fresh things. And so I think I personally, and God, layer the holidays on top of that. And, am I really getting enough of the good green stuff?
Mm-hmm.
And, just lately I've been feeling a little slothy, and I've been blaming it on less daylight, but there's the diet's in there too. I know it.
I mean, you said it.
You taught me.
Right. Totally. And it's one of those, like in that episode too, guys, like I give you all the guidelines to eyeball it with your hands, because I'm not a big fan of the idea that we're going to walk around with like measuring cups in our back pocket.
Ain't going to happen.
Like #not life, like, okay. So my next one, this was another interview. This one was with Melainie Rogers from July, episode 50. And I called it, it's a fine line between constructive and destructive. And she's an eating disorder expert. And we talked about both eating disorders and disordered eating and, all the changes in that space recently. Like one of the things that stood out to me, she talked about the changing demographics of those experiencing these challenges. It's more men, more LGBTQ, more people who live in food deserts. And it's really eye-opening to think about disordered eating as opposed to eating disorders and recognizing the difference between those. And then one of my other favorite things in that episode is she talked about her own daughter, or really I like poked and asked, because I think, with somebody with her expertise in raising a daughter, like, how do you have conversations with your daughter around food? Like, what are the things that we all want to be doing with young people in our lives so that we're not creating issues where there aren't any, and we're not feeding, no pun intended, anything that might be there.
I think it's just also interesting to think, again, here we sit in 2020, kids' social lives are turned upside down. They're home more. I think in some ways that's pushing them more into social media and things, right? And so, which feeds some of this, some of the insecurity around that and body and all that kind of stuff. It's just, it's like, I mean, it's more timely and more important than ever.
Absolutely. And just because I think it's mind-boggling, she shared with us that about 9 to 10% of people, so approximately 30 million people in the United States, will develop an eating disorder in their lifetime. And in New York City, she estimated probably 90% of people experience disordered eating. And I will say, I mean, maybe this is giving away the punchline, but I would certainly say still go back and listen to it if you missed it or if you want a refresher. But the ultimate goal is to be the balanced eater, where it's food and body neutrality. Like my mom used to tell me growing up, the opposite of love isn't hate, that hate takes a whole lot of effort and energy, right? That the opposite of love or hate is actually indifference. And so if we apply that to our food and our body, the goal is that neutrality.
It's very cool. Your mom's a smart woman.
She is. All right, William, we're up to number 5. This is your pick.
So episode 41, it's not just for hippies. And you wonder, what is this about?
I love this one.
When you just look at the title. Oh my gosh, you guys went really deep into composting. And it really just made me think about a lot of stuff, to be honest. I am based in rural Connecticut now, and I'm really trying to figure out, okay, how can I incorporate this in? But I love that there's also just small things that you can do to sort of like baby steps, right? Back to the lily pond and the getting across the pond. So much food waste. I mean, you guys covered that. It's just crazy. And again, in a year where there's so much need and hunger, and I guess the new term is food insecurity. It's people are hungry. I mean, you can call it whatever you want, right? And you said it, Jen. You said in that episode a few times, like, it does not compute. How are we in this situation? How are we the richest, country on earth and have all this bounty, and we have all this waste, and people are hungry? And I know we don't have a solution for that, but it's something to think about. It's really something to think about and something to talk about. And so that it does pair nicely with composting. Because what was the thing? Oh, how long does it take for a head of lettuce to decompose in a landfill? Was it 12 years? I can't remember.
No.
I didn't write it down.
Oh, hold yourself. A single head of lettuce takes 25 years to decompose in a landfill. Holy moly.
I know.
And by the way, I just held myself back. I mean, I always mark these episodes as explicit. I don't know why I just held myself back from swearing, because I have the worst potty mouth. But it is mind-boggling.
Why doesn't everyone know that fact? You're hearing it again. It was, you've heard it multiple times and you're reacting that way. I reacted that way. It's like you almost want to rewind it and make sure that you heard it right. Why don't we all, because you think, oh, well, this is organic. This, I can throw this away. And it seems like that there's such a need for education on this topic.
Exactly. I remember growing up, the reduce, reuse, recycle was the big thing. And we talked about that in terms of paper and plastic. We never talked about that in terms of food.
I know. Yeah.
And the thing is that it's not really the head of lettuce that creates that 25-year number. It's the plastic bag that we throw it out in. It's the fact that once it's in a landfill, It's in that plastic bag, and then in a landfill, it's not being exposed to the elements that it needs exposure to in order to decompose.
I'm laughing because I'm so glad that you're filling in the blanks, because we almost just talked anyone out of ever composting, because they're like, if it takes 25 years, what's the point?
Right. But like, so here's what's really interesting too. Like, and after doing this episode, I think about it every time I crack an egg, what I'm doing with that eggshell. Every time I'm cutting up vegetables, I'm thinking about, well, I could probably use that part of the stem. I can eat that. That's fine. And then what do I do with the banana peel? Like, all of the things, I think about it all the time. And if you have an issue with garbage smelling in your home, it's because you have a cover on that garbage can and you are cutting off the oxygen. So I started using more of the old plastic bags that are now outlawed in New York City.
Right, exactly.
So I use the illegal plastic bags.
Get rid of the illegal stash.
But I now sit it on top of my garbage can and actually leave it open. Because, so for the record, in New York City, a lot of the composting was put on hold during COVID, because in the city, you need a pickup location. Those pickup locations where you would like drop off all your stuff was typically at the farmers markets. And so with everything that was happening during COVID, a lot of that was turned off. So anyway, I've been, for the things that I'm, times when I'm not composting or whatever, I'm using the illegal plastic bag on top of my garbage can and leaving it open when I throw out that food waste. And I have to tell you, it doesn't smell.
So this leads me to, I have a burning question. There was reference to the woman who did the living room composting, I think in Japan or something, and then your guest Rebecca was going to try the same thing. Did you circle back with her? How did that work out? Composting in her living room.
Okay, so I've kept in touch with, obviously, like I keep in touch with her. She ended up, I don't know if she ever did it, because she ended up doing sort of like a cross-country road trip.
Oh, okay.
And like camping.
Right.
So I don't think the living room compost ever happened.
Jen, one of us has to try the living room composting. And
I vote for you because I live in an apartment building.
There was also a quote in that episode that I really loved. If I feed this earth, the earth will come back and take care of me. And wow, another timely message for 2020. My God.
Exactly. And it's interesting, like I think back to the very beginning of quarantine, when we started seeing like dolphins in the canals of Italy and the pollution clearing up, and amazing things were happening when we all slowed down and, took a step back. So kind of amazing. This one would have been on my list whether you picked it or not. So
this was a good one. And again, I got so much information from that episode that I had never heard before. So thank you.
Ooh, good to know.
Yeah.
So we did 5 of our top 10. Let's take a quick break for a message from our partner for this episode, Lumiere de Vie Skincare. Lumiere de Vie Skincare was founded by Amber Ridinger McLaughlin in response to her own experience of mere marginal results from countless costly creams. Say that 10 times fast. She realized the revitalization of her youthful skin could only occur if she developed products herself, working closely with beauty scientists and exploring the most advanced ingredients derived from the earth and sea. Amber created Lumiere de Vie, the next generation of skincare. The extensive line of luxury skincare products is designed to address all skin types and concerns, including uneven texture or tone, dryness, and fatigue skin. Sidebar, fatigue skin, anybody else under the mask? Like, please. Okay. With the highest quality natural ingredients and powerful formulas that help heal, soothe, moisturize, and protect, Lumiere de Vie acts as first aid for your skin. The result, rejuvenated, luminous, beautiful looking skin. So yeah, the mask, not great for our skin. And then it's also the holidays. So I want to ask you, is there anyone you left off your list? Because I bet there's one person. And I bet that person is you. What are you doing for yourself for the holiday? So I recommend the Lumiere de Vie skincare value kits. The women's kit gives you the facial cleanser, toner, an intense rejuvenation cream, so a foundation of skincare for $125. The men's kit gives you the Lumiere de Vie Homme cleansing gel, restoring serum, and hydrating aloe cream for $90. Both are great gifts for yourself. Personally, I use the Lumiere de Vie skincare every single day. I feel like I'm at the spa morning and night when I wash my face. And, just a great gift. You don't have to break the bank. And we have a discount. So to get 10% off your order, text the word SKIN, SKIN, to 844-947-4846. You'll receive the link and coupon code right to your phone. Again, simply text the word SKIN to 844-947-4846 to try Lumiere de Vie skincare and get 10% off. This is a toll-free number. Standard text and data rates may apply. Okay, so number 6 is my pick. So this one is episode 34 from April 1st, which also should have been like an April Fool's, because it was called The Mess of Stress. And in 2020, April Fool's, right? So what I love about this episode is, stress is one of the 5 fat factors, one of the things that really makes a difference to our health, not just our weight, but our health and our well-being and all the big things that are really important. So this episode talks about, why stress is actually detrimental and how, this survival function that was designed to save our lives is also now leading to our demise. And I know it sounds dramatic, but it's kind of true. Stress. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just too stressed to say anything. Well, and you also just went to demise, but keep going.
Right. I know, like I said, it's dramatic, but especially in the context of right now, to realize flu season and COVID and our health in general, I think we all just have such a different awareness of our health. And then you add to that the isolation and shifting in our lifestyles and the people that we connect with and how we connect with people and human connection. And it's we just have a lot of stressors, and stress impacts, when our stress levels are high, our body turns off all the systems and functions that are not critical to survival of fight or flight, which means our immune system turns off, our reproductive system turns off, everything. Our metabolism shuts off.
We go back to cavemen, right? Yeah. Like you say, running from, I don't know, a saber-toothed tiger or something.
That's the one I always use. But
right, yeah. Right. Isn't it so crazy that as far as we've come in our society and evolved in all these things, that stress can take you right back to prehistoric man, in every single one of our bodies? It's just bonkers to me.
So this also goes back to some of the other episodes, our biology is not evolving as fast as our society. And so why is it that our body can't figure out what to do with the GMO apple or can't figure it? It's because evolution takes a whole lot longer than the technology that we've come up with. Yeah. It's really crazy. But so, not to freak you out, but I highly recommend going back to listen to The Mess of Stress, because of course we also talk about what to do and how to manage all that stress.
Right. there is some positivity to the episode, and the tools and all of that, because hey, all of us, and I would say that there's new stress that has been thrust upon us this year.
Yeah.
Think about all the parents out there with the kids at home trying to homeschool or whatever it is.
For real.
And it's just crazy. So yeah, I agree. It's a good one to go back and listen to for sure.
Yeah. And it's one of those, of course, I'm never going to just give you doom and gloom. There's so much in there, just pick a couple things to try. You don't have to try everything, but The Mess of Stress, episode 34. Highly recommend it. All right, William, what's your next one?
Oh my goodness, episode 37, sleep on it. I love to sleep. I'm a sleeper. I love my sleep. It's one of the most luxurious things about life. So, yeah, when I was sort of figuring out which ones, it's like I couldn't pass this one up. I love the thought. I use this term a lot with folks, with clients that I'm working with. Sleep on it, right? It can just be applied to almost everything.
Yep.
And I love to hear the science behind it, that it's not just take a breath and give some time, which is important, right? It's also like being able to process, like your brain has to process stuff, especially big decisions, right? So that really resonated with me. And obviously the connection between sleep and the immune system. Wow. Again, I know I keep saying this, broken record, 2020, how important is your immune system, and layer the stress and all the stuff that we're talking about, and that can make it more difficult to sleep. I'm one of those people that's very regimented. So even it's interesting, even, starting in March when everything started changing schedule wise and everything else and location wise and everything, right, starts changing. I still pretty much get up at the same time that I used to, a little bit later. I go to bed. Oh my God. There's a really funny meme right now going around on the internet. It's like, I don't know, it's like a cat or something tucked in at 4:30, said that like my body thinks it's midnight, so I'm going to bed at like 4:30 or 5 o'clock. Like that's so me. Anyway. So it's just, hey, important more than ever, I think, is a reminder that it's tied directly to the immune system. Which I love. So even William, who loves to get in bed at like 9 or 9:15, right? If I miss a night of sleep, if I miss a good night of sleep, like, when you wake up the next morning, you feel it, right? And even, right, all of us have those nights. I didn't know that you were not supposed to try to catch up a little bit and nap the next day, or maybe go to bed earlier. That was really good to learn. Yeah.
I mean, you could do it, but it doesn't compensate for what was supposed to happen in the body that didn't happen.
Right. I mean, yeah, because I mean, I've had nights even recently, with the past couple of weeks, where it's just like, that's, you sort of wake up, your brain starts running, whatever it is, and it's, man, do I feel affected the next day? And and NPS, and you and I talked about this before. Of course, that's the day where it's like like you want to eat stuff that you normally wouldn't eat. Like, it's just amazing how your body just does things when you don't have the right amount of sleep.
Exactly. It's connected to everything. And that's the thing, like, sleep issues present as so many different symptoms and disease states that, first of all, doctors don't always come back to that as an underlying cause.
Mm.
But the other side of that is, if we improve our sleep and allow the body to heal, diseases and states of dis-ease may resolve themselves when we give our body that chance. It's magical.
Yeah, let your body do its thing, man. Right?
Exactly.
That's one of the lessons. Let your body do its thing, but you got to treat it right.
Amen. All right. So number 8 is episode 61, How to Be a Wellness Ally. And I love this one because in my own wellness journey, although I hate that word, relationships and friendships have played such a critical role in that. The people who I choose to talk to about this stuff, the people who choose to talk to me about it, the people who I know from working out, and the friends where, some sort of physical activity becomes part of the social plans.
Mm.
Our community, and of course, going back to 2020 and what a crazy year this has been, like, our communities are so important. And then the other side of that is, sometimes people can think they're doing the right thing, but they've really turned into the food police, and I didn't ask them to be that for me. Right?
Yeah.
And so, I love this episode in terms of thinking about, both who we enroll in our process and also how to be a supportive friend to other people.
Yeah. And I think this is just something's coming up for me. I think it's relevant to the conversation because we're communicating differently, because in many ways our lives have gotten smaller, our reach, places we go, people we see, it's smaller. Our world is smaller, right now. And so I think it's allowing you to go deeper with certain people that are in your tribe, right? Let's say the fitness tribe, right?
Yeah.
The health tribe, whatever you want to call it. And so, and I think that's relevant right now as well. And yeah, I love it. I think it's cool. I think that's happening organically with a lot of relationships right now. And you won't really realize it until you're on the other side of it. It's like, oh wow, we got really tight in 2020.
Yeah.
and then there'll be this other person that's like, I haven't really spoken to that person in a while.
Right? So true. All right. Your next one, number 9.
All right. Episode 33, Self-Care and Productivity Realism with Paula Rizzo. So I love lists. So as soon as I found out that she was a list person, like she had me at hello. And I'm a real estate agent, so I love the part like about how she made a list when she was looking for her home, and then other people wanted that list and all of that. Which, by the way, there's a business opportunity in there some way. There's somebody needs to figure that out. But anyway, it's where my brain went right away.
She did,
Yeah.
right? I mean, she didn't sell that particular list, but that's
Right.
what created all of her books.
But she could.
Yeah. I mean, listen, she's known as the list producer.
Right. Oh my God, a woman after my own heart. And in her story, obviously, she was literally running at 110%. Her body shut her down. It's funny. So that resonated with me, not because my body shut me down, because COVID shut me down. Right. So in my brain, I really went to, taking care of clients, like running in the city, like hamster wheel, just run, getting a lot done, feeling great, taking care of myself and all that. But when everything screeched to a halt in March, that her story of that really resonated with me, for this year. It's something that I went through with, thank goodness it wasn't a physical thing. It was it's sort of what, the world has given all of us. Right. I'll say one of the things that I love, and I just referenced it in the past 24 hours to someone else about listening to your intuition, and how do you feel when you're even thinking about doing something. Wow, that connected some dots for me. And you can apply that to so many things. It's like you get that phone call or that email from a certain person, and you get that feeling, and it's like, ooh, there's a reason why that happens when that person, right?
For real.
Cool.
It's like, and think about it, like the clients, when you see their name pop up, how does that feel? There are certain people that are not the right clients for us.
Your intuition is just telling you, man, you got to listen.
Exactly. And I have to tell you, I mean, first of all, I'm glad that you picked this episode, despite the fact, so my audio on this episode sounds like I am in a tin can. So I apologize.
Oh, wow. I didn't even notice it.
Oh, good. Okay. Even better. But it was so good. I didn't want to re-record it. I didn't want to change a second of it.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad that you enjoyed this one. And one of my favorite things from that episode, and again, we did this in March, and how true this came to be this year. And I'm quoting Paula when I say this, rest is the new hustle.
Mm-hmm.
Like, mic drop.
Yeah, totally.
All right. Are we ready? Number 10.
Let's do it. What is it?
Episode 68. Our interview with Dr. Casey Means from November. called Metabolic Health is Overall Health. And I am such a sucker for doctors who understand this and doctors who do a great job of explaining it in a way that we can all understand it. And, you know, it's one of my goals with this podcast. Like, I hope that I can do that for you too. You know, she talked about the 4 main behavioral drivers of glucose, right? Which are food choices, sleep, exercise, and stress. So a lot of what we talked about today.
Yeah.
And, right, the 4 key levers that we can pull to improve this are gut health, B vitamins, zinc, manganese, wearables, right? The things that we can do, those food choices, the sleep, the energy, the stress, that's what we have control over. That's what we can do to improve our metabolic health. And when we improve our metabolic health, it's such a snowball to everything else in the body. And likewise, when our metabolic health is off, it's a snowball to everything else in the body. You know, our immune system, our metabolism, of course, you know, our brain function, like seemingly unrelated things are super connected to these behavioral drivers.
This one is a nice summary of a lot of the things that we talked about in the other 9 episodes.
Yeah.
And it's also a nice summary of, I mean, how many times did we say, like, it's like if there was a drinking game with how many times we referenced like 2020. But hey, you know what? You know what, Jen? Like, this will be living on in your pod stream for years, and 2020 is always going to be 2020. So it's okay to reference it and all that went with it. That's the way that I'm feeling about it. So yeah,
Absolutely.
This is a good summary episode for sure.
And one of my other favorite things that she talked about, which is something that I do a lot of work with, which is about understanding our genetics and the interplay between genetics and our lifestyle choices. And so the way she explained it is health is not just the genetic blueprint. It's the interaction between the blueprint and the exposures you encounter every day.
Mm.
So you're not doomed by your genes. But with the choices that we make every single day, we can really do something about our genetic predispositions. And I think, again, to sum it all up, our health, our wellness, our well-being, all the things requires us to show up every day. You know, we have to recommit to ourselves and our health every day, sometimes every hour, depending on what's happening. And you know, that's an awesome responsibility and also a tremendous gift.
Can I also just add to that, since we're talking about every day and every step and lily pads and all of that, if you mess up a day, it's okay. You just start over the next day and it's okay, right? You don't have to totally go off the rails.
And you don't even have to wait till the next day.
You're
like,
right.
What's the next minute? Drink some water.
You're right.
What's
You're
the
right.
minute after that? Maybe move a little bit.
You're right.
And it's not about thinking about it in terms of undoing, you know, or trying to punish ourselves for that choice. It's about choosing the bigger picture in the long term over and over. So, you guys.
Well said.
That's 2020's top 10, according to Jenn and William.
The first of many countdowns you'll be hearing over the next few weeks for the end of the year.
Totally. Like, I wonder if we should have done this in 10 to 1 instead of 1 to 10. Like, I'll late night shows. I don't know.
Jenn, I just want to say you are so awesome, and to share your knowledge and with your tribe. And I learn from you every time we sit down and have these conversations. Like I say, I'm a loyal listener to your podcast. You're so great at what you do, and so there's my gratitude for you, my friend.
Oh, please. Thank you. I mean, first of all, hearing that means the world to me, because sometimes you sit at the mic and, you know, until you hear from somebody who's listening, you never know. So thank you. That is appreciated more than you know. So I highly recommend, guys, go back as you have some extra time to listen, you know, or if you're newer to the crew and maybe you missed some of these, re-listen, listen to them again. it's our top 10, but I think we did a really nice job of sort of summing up a lot of the lessons from Salad with a Side of Fries in 2020. I just felt like Barbara Walters, 2020.
You said it. You articulated so well, Jenn.
I know. Okay. So with our top 10 complete, it's time for our nutrition nugget. Can you contain your excitement?
Barely.
Okay. This week, we're talking about nightshades. So this came up a little bit ago on one of my wellness webinars, and I made a note for us to address it here. So maybe you've heard someone suggest that you stay away from nightshades. So I want to answer the question about what does that even mean? Why might someone want to pay close attention to these foods? And, when do we do that? So first, what the hell are they? Okay, nightshades are a group of vegetables, some fruits, and even some spices. They're technically the edible parts of flowering plants in and I'm probably going to butcher this, but I think it's pronounced Solanaceae family. Whatever. It's the Latin genus species of this group of foods, but I have to tell you, it's like the only thing that groups them together, right? So technically, the category is over 2,000 varieties of plants, but some of them that we might want to stay away from are a pretty short list. And, the truth is, many of the ones that we eat are very common. Like one study called them, quote, staple foods of many societies for hundreds of years. So this is a situation where it's not new to nature molecules. So what are they? So the most common ones that we eat are white potatoes, tomatoes and tomatillos, tobacco, which is actually a poison to the human body, eggplant, bell peppers, cayenne pepper, crushed red pepper, chili powder, paprika, goji berries, Cape gooseberries, and ashwagandha. So we think about a lot of these foods, also realize that this extends to foods that are made with these ingredients, like potato starch or hot sauce, marinara sauce, ketchup, salsa, right? So the catch with these is that they contain an alkaloid called solanine. So again, you're sort of thinking, what the hell does this mean? Alkaloids are an organic compound that contains at least one nitrogen atom. And in high concentrations, this can be toxic. The reality is, though, most of us are probably not getting these in high enough concentrations for it to qualify that way. And studies of nightshades are really mixed and basically inconclusive in their findings as to, understanding what happens. But people report that they experience pain or an inflammatory response, which is sometimes relieved when eliminating these foods. So in my mind, as I try to reconcile all of this, I think, between the studies and what people report, it's most likely that some people have an allergy or sensitivity to these foods. And that in turn is what's causing the inflammation or an immune response, right? Alternatively, it's possible that these foods throw off someone's pH balance. And so the symptoms they experience are really from their body compensating, which is the body trying to return to balance. So really quick side note on inflammation. Almost anything that ends in itis is inflammation. So in particular, nightshades come into the conversation when people talk about joint pain or inflammation of the joints. They also come up when we talk about irritable bowel disease, gastritis, or other autoimmune conditions. So if you experience such symptoms, you may want to eliminate nightshades, right? So here are some easy substitutes. If you're a note taker, grab a pen or the Notes app on your phone. Easy substitutes: sweet potatoes, avocado, Brussels sprouts, Jerusalem artichokes, pesto to replace your tomato sauce. Choose citrus fruits because they have a lot of vitamin C and a lot of the Nightshades give you a lot of vitamin C. And eat tons of dark leafy greens like spinach, kale, and collard greens. But here's the thing about it, right? And this sort of is similar to the conversation we had a while ago about gluten. Because if you don't experience these inflammatory response or these symptoms, don't eliminate these foods. Nightshade vegetables are nutrient dense, exactly what we're looking for, right? They're giving our body vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and fiber, right? All the things that give us health benefits. So in general, we want to eat nutrient dense foods. And we want those foods to be varied so that we're getting a variety of vitamins and minerals. So it's absolutely beneficial to our health to have all of these varieties. And unnecessarily or arbitrarily removing foods from our diet does not directly translate to health. Make sense? So if you don't have a reason to eliminate them, don't. If you think that nightshades may be contributing to symptoms you're experiencing, then you can do an elimination diet. So to do this, you remove them from your nutrition for about 2 weeks. You may want to do a gentle detox for that first week. And you can go back to our detox episode from January of 2020 for that one. But so then after the 2 weeks of total elimination, take note of your symptoms. How are you feeling? Better, worse, the same compared to before the elimination. Then you'll try each food individually. So for example, we'll start with eggplant. So you do the 2 weeks, then you start with the eggplant. You have one serving at one meal, and then nothing again for 72 hours. And take note of what you're experiencing. Are your symptoms better, worse, the same? Like the eye doctor. Better, worse, the same. Then you repeat and test each one. So maybe your next one is white potatoes. One serving at one meal and nothing for 72 hours. Check in with your symptoms. And you just keep repeating until you determine if you feel better. And if you do, which ones, help relieve the symptoms. Eliminating which ones helps relieve which symptoms. So it's not easy. It requires a greater commitment to nutritional interventions to your symptoms for sure. But it might be the right thing for you. So just to sum this up, nightshades are a group of vegetables, fruits, and even spices to which some people may have an allergy or sensitivity, which can cause an inflammatory response in the body or a shift in their pH balance. They're often tied to joint pain, autoimmune diseases, right, and inflammation in the gut. So those people may want to try an elimination diet to see if removing the foods improves their symptoms. Nightshade foods are white potatoes, tomatoes, tomatillos, tobacco, eggplant, bell peppers, cayenne pepper, crushed red pepper, chili powder, paprika, the goji berries, ashwagandha, and I believe there's one more that I'm forgetting, but you can go back and listen in a minute. And here's the thing to really remember. If you do not have these inflammatory or autoimmune systems, there is no reason to remove these nutrient-dense foods from your nutrition. Good?
Good.
Any questions on nightshades? Now that talking about nightshades just makes you want to go to sleep?
No, but it's interesting. And I don't think I have an issue with nightshades. If I do, I'm unaware of it. But many of those go into the turkey chili that we make. Like half of the turkey chili includes nightshades because I didn't know the whole thing about the red pepper and the paprika. I knew the eggplant, which in a pinch I could give up eggplant. Tomatoes, I'd have a harder time with.
Yeah. But if you don't need to, don't do it. The moral of the story. All right. Well, William, once again, thank you for being here. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you. Happy Hanukkah. Happy everything.
Happy everything, everybody. As always, I'm your host, Jenn Trepeck. Connect with me on Instagram at Jenn Trepeck, JENNTREPECK. Our Facebook page is at the same handle, and just DM me. I want to hear from you, whether it's your questions, your ideas, a key takeaway. It's also the best way to reach out to learn more about working with me directly. And of course, if you're not already a member, join our membership program by going to glow.fm/salad with a side of fries to show your support for this podcast, this community, and most importantly, your own health. Plus, you'll get this week's recipe for the peppermint fudge energy balls, or just fudge energy balls if you're not a mint person. Although I like the idea of using the broken candy canes. And you get to book this month your one-on-one session with me, because for real, I'm so excited to chat with you. So truly, I wish you and yours a most wonderful holiday season to close this crazy year. And we'll see you here next Wednesday for one more episode in 2020. Well, friends, that's it for today's episode of Salad with a Side of Fries. Congratulations for making yourself and your health a priority. Thanks so much for joining us. Be sure to click subscribe or follow on your favorite podcast platform. Share us with a friend, and we'll be back next week. Always remember, you deserve it, and you are worth it. Happy healthy.